having a family get-together to start a fire, possibly in the middle of the night. And what I would like to propose is to see whether or not there's a way that we can remove that wood. And then people who would be going down there might go down there. It's the wrong size wood anyway. For a little fire pit, you want essentially kindling. You can keep it going, and then it's out, and it's not smoky, and it's not any of those things. But since it's there, you know, I think what we need to do is we owe it to you to see if we can come up with a, you know, a gradually increasing attempts to resolve the problem, the first being the easiest and simplest. And I would like to propose that we get rid of all the wood, the fuel that's there, to maybe have people who want to do it bring their own wood, and maybe possibly have some kind of prior approval so that we know exactly what's going on. Because it's easy and we can do it immediately.
Well, first off, he makes it sound like this is an every night occurrence. It's been 3 or 4 Saturday nights, and that's it. Not Sunday nights, no nights during the week. It's been on Saturday nights, 3 or 4 nights. That's all.
Okay, but what we're talking about is not the
We
mutual
think it's a good
exclusive.
idea to bring people together, we just want to be able to work it out for everyone.
Right, what I'm trying to do is to say, is there a way to make everybody happy? And you have somebody who says, look, I'm very unhappy with this, and it's affecting my, no, it's a family, and
All
they're
right,
talking
it's
about.
one family.
It's 2 residences.
Please,
Okay,
let's,
that's not, you know,
rather than trying to refute what they're saying, listen to what they're saying and try and figure out a solution. And the solution might be, I mean, obviously, a solution that we would probably not want to do right away, just give me a second there. Not right away is to just say, okay, we're going to take this and throw it in the garbage or something like that. It was put there with the hope that it would bring people down to the park and whatever, but we envision family get-togethers and not midnight revelers. And I think what I would propose is that we see what we could do to address that problem. And the first thing would be to get rid of the fuel and to see whether or not we might even mandate, so, you know, the little
fix that you can.
whatever, they're soaked in something and it's basically a positive. Yeah, and they put off almost no smoke. But to address the issue of the smoke and therefore the fuel, rather than saying this thing is no good in every which way there is, and to try it, just like we're trying the stop signs and maybe this needs,
Right.
you know, a series of steps that would allow us to evaluate just what we have there. I think the idea was, it had good intentions, but clearly it is inconvenience to families. So that would be my proposal right off the bat.
I agree.
Dan Bowlesy, Chestnut Avenue. When I'm in my bed and I hear people at that fire, I never had to experience that before. I don't see why my life needs to change to accommodate somebody's desire to gather. If they want to gather in their yard, or if they want to build relationships, there's Facebook, there's Tinder, there's Grindr, there's all kinds of things they can use. This is an unnecessary act by the village. And to me, it's embarrassing that it's actually happening. And to dance around the issue and see, oh, well, what can we do to make it better? You can make it better by removing it. And I've been advised by my attorney to find out tonight when you're going to remove it and have an ultimatum. And I'd like to know when that fire pit is going to be removed tonight.
Well, we're not going to remove it. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but these are common areas.
You don't
that bring
understand what I'm
people together.
saying. You want to like make it sure so people can sit and drink by the fire
Should
at
we
night
do- whoa.
and make noise and you know what, nothing wrong with any of that. But it was never there and it's disruptive and it violates several village codes and I'd appreciate it if it was
The
removed.
night of the fish tournament, they had open fires, 2 of them. Bobby sat down there on his boat and saw them. So they can have fires, but nobody else can?
Who's that?
Bobby.
Yeah, no, we're not even, that's not a here or there. It's trying to solve the problem.
It's the permanentization of it that's the problem.
But there are, a lot of people are happy with it.
Sure, well, a lot of people are happy doing heroin. You gonna start selling it at Village Hall?
And the
Will we make
people-
money?
I mean-
Will it pay
You've
for,
surveyed
will it
only
pay
the
for
people who are enjoying it, you have not surveyed the other residents. The
Most-
people who are hanging out with you at the fire are going to say they like it. What about the people who say it's violating their sleep and their health?
It's gonna become a bigger problem, and you're not gonna like it, I'm not gonna like it. Why not resolve it now, before it costs any of us money? There's a code here to protect us, it's been there for years.
Well, we have to kick it around. I don't know if we should be able to do it tonight.
To a different location.
Well, that's where the options could be. It's all over the place.
Would a relocation be
That's
proposed?
one of the things that, the park is just not big enough to have it in a place that was.
And needs water.
Move to the other side, then
Relocate it to your yard.
it's.
Hang out in your yard. I'm not saying don't hang out in your yard.
There's common areas.
You know, when my son, who's 8 years old, in tears said, "Daddy, are we gonna have to move?" What am I supposed to tell him?
You see, that's just the kind of insensitive remarks that people would make. This whole problem is caused by your guys, I mean, it's a great idea, let's have a place to hang out together, I think that's a great idea. But you put it right next door to the house. It's the wrong place, and your complete insensitivity, if that thing was right next to your house, you would be up in arms just like we are. That complete insensitivity is absolutely inappropriate for somebody who is in village government. When they talk about government being local, this is it. This is local government. It affects people's lives every day.
But
And
don't
you
you
want to
think-
think like that and be in village government?
But don't you think the
Please.
people that live around Trustees Park feel the same way about when there was a tennis court put in, or when there's kids playing on the playground, or when there's a Halloween party going on there?
That's
So
all
there's
daytime.
different things.
That's all daytime. I expect people to use a park in the day, not at 11 o'clock at night when it's affecting my window space, and they're not making smoke
How is
when they're using the tennis
Well, I
court.
think that we.
How is the
yeah,
insurance
see,
policy of the village been affected by the installation
We're
of
gonna
this
have to see what the
danger?
village, about Williams, the village comes, and then make a decision. And I'm gonna give it to Jeff.
There's two questions over here, two comments.
I live on the bluff on Chestnut, and I understand that Mayor Parrish may not have smelt the smoke walking by Bolsey's house on the day she was there. On certain nights, I've
That
had.
may have, I didn't.
I
Okay.
understand that, I'm saying I agree with you.
Okay.
I'm not criticizing you. But on the flip side of that, it really depends on how the wind is blowing.
Yes.
And I've had smoke in my house from the fire pit. We monitor the beach, we watch
Not from
the.
Walnut Beach?
Oh, yes, it was the night of the fire at Walnut, not from Walnut, from California Park. It was on a Saturday night, and we went out and we went down on the beach, and the fire was down at California Park. And it just was because of the way the wind was blowing. It doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't have a major effect on the quality of my life, but it has come up on my deck on one occasion. So I'm far away, and I'm sure that if you ask Mike Chaffee, he's kind of on the diagonal. If the wind blows, it's gonna hit him, or it's gonna hit the other house on the corner of Washington and Chestnut. Volpe's house. It just depends on how the wind blows, whose house is gonna get full of smoke. I think that the residents do have a right not to have fires that affect the quality of their lives. I'm not affected like the Bolseys, but I think we need to be sensitive to all of the residents in the community. And I think Harry's remark was totally inappropriate. Well, maybe you should move. I mean, does that mean every time the village does something that hurts people, they should have to feel they have to move? They'll have nobody living here in a few years.
Yeah.
I want to try to be the voice of reason here. I live up on Highview. I have a fireplace. And there's probably about 7 or 8 houses around me within 50 to 80 yards. Everybody has a fireplace.
That regulates the smoke. It's not an open fire pit.
All right, just let me throw this
Go
out
ahead.
there. I'm just throwing it out there. You're right, you're absolutely right. But when somebody has a fire going, depending on the wind, we each get each other's smoke. Isn't that kinda like the same thing?
No, I disagree.
Have they complained to you and you
I'm just
ignored
throwing it
them?
out, and you
If my
guys
neighbor
are shaking
said
your head
something
no,
to me
so
about it.
you're probably all right. You're right, it controls the smoke, but we still get each other's, depending on the wind. I mean, Carol, you're right, depending on the wind, we get a little of each other's smoke, depending on the wind. I mean, probably not because it's, what, 20 feet up, 25 feet up, so it's going up. But
This is a noise issue as much as it's a smoke issue.
I was down there one night. And I was-
We live
You know
there
what,
every
was
night.
just because there's been a few examples.
But I know that they only had it for like 3 or 4 nights too.
Well, maybe other people would just.
And I was down
You're
there.
inviting
I
a
was down
regular
there 2
occurrence by
nights.
making a
And
regular.
I know they were only down there 3 or 4 nights.
Okay, the issue is that we have to look into it and see what we're gonna do, because we don't know what we're gonna do. We really don't
We'd
know.
like a deadline for a
Okay.
decision.
Hi, so I'm Diana Padilla, 61 Washington Street, and I'm incredibly saddened that this village takes the health and welfare of its citizens and people who are concerned so lightly and frivolously. I just am really, really saddened. There was someone who didn't like that people were going 25 miles an hour in front of his house, so we get stop signs. There are people whose health is at risk, a park that historically has been closed at dusk, the little gates closed so you can't drive in there. And they're expected to just put up with it. There was never a survey about, or asking the local neighbors. It was just a discussion. Somebody said, well, I think we want to have one, because some of my friends said we want to have one. Well, let's see where we can put it. Let's put it in California Park. That's not the way to be respectful of neighbors.
I disagree with you that we're not concerned about what they're doing, because we are, okay? We may not be doing what you want us to do, it doesn't mean that we're not
It's,
concerned.
I would,
Okay, so we are gonna look into other options of whether we can put it somewhere else, but we're doing the best that we can for everybody in the village, not one individual
Okay.
person.
Can we have a
Please
deadline?
move it, and then you can decide where you wanna put it.
We can't, I can't make that promise right now. We still
we
have to
have a date?
discuss it. Okay, and that's why you were elected board. The board makes decisions, and if you're not happy with this decision, we're gonna look at it and see what we can do to change it.
Well, what
What's
happened
the
last
time?
time? I mean, how many more meetings do we have to come to and voice our concerns?
I don't know.
We need a date to commit to.
Well, we don't have.
Well,
so.
I'd like to have a motion for next month, for the next meeting, that we discuss and vote on if it should be moved or not.
I don't see why you have to vote on whether or not you're violating a village code that's there to protect me. I think we should have a vote on whether we need impeachments.
Any other public comments?
Yes, I have to comment on a totally different issue. So to change the subject. So, back in the summer, I received an email from you that was regarding electioneering that was sent to all the people on the village email list before election. I replied back and comment that I had not provided you with my email, and I only provided the village with my email for village information. And you replied back that an email cannot be provided to a government for a particular use. Only email addresses become public records. So I then applied for a freedom of information to get the village email addresses, because I was told by you that they are public record. And I sent several emails to you and to the village attorney for clarification, just to make sure that you really meant to say that they are public record, even though the little thing we signed says that these email addresses will be used for village-related communications only and will not be distributed. But your thing says it's public information. I just received so I sent a freedom of information request in mid-August, which was supposed to be responded to in 5 days. It wasn't, therefore,
Well,
10
that's
days
right,
later, 10 days later, I submitted an appeal because of not receiving a response.
Just to clarify, it's 20 business days after you put it in, and then after you get your response, it's 10 days to appeal.
Okay, so fine.
5 days to acknowledge.
5 days to acknowledgement, I never received acknowledgement. 20 days, I never received.
I
30
emailed
days,
you, you were in response. No.
30 days later,
You did within 5 days, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
30 days later, I submitted an appeal, and that was supposed to be dealt with within 10 days. It wasn't, but I did finally receive an appeal today, and my appeal from the attorney was denied because he says the village does not have a list of email addresses. And so I would like to ask, since presumably most of the people here have received emails from the village regarding village business, does the village have an email list?
No, it does not.
And when we submit our forms, where do these emails go?
To me.
Since you told me that they were public information.
They go to me. It's my
And
list,
so-
it's not the village list. It will not be, it's not going to be. given
But
out to
then
anyone.
you told me that it is public information. This was in your email.
I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. You got an answer to your FOIA request.
So
I'm telling you, the email list is my list to do with what I want.
So she has a personal email list
Yes.
that she used for electioneering that we are not privy to, and that the village will, and so even though it says on this form, when you provide your email to the village, this is in fact not true.
Right, when I
Your
came into
email
office in
will be used by the
2014, there
mayor
was no
for what
email
she
list.
pleases, and there is no such thing as a village email list.
Yes, correct. In
Correct?
2014, I came into this office with
So
no
it is
email.
contrary to the email that you sent me prior.
I'm telling you, the list is mine. I keep it, it's my list.
So
I
this
can
is,
do whatever I
and
want.
you can do with it as mayor, or use it for electioneering,
Or
or
anything I want.
anything you personally wish.
Yes, if you would like to be removed, just let
And
me
it
know.
is not public information as you stated in this email to me.
No,
Would you like your name removed from this? Is that what you're getting at?
I think we already did, didn't you request that?
I did never requested that my
okay.
name be
What
removed
would you
from the
like to
village list.
see?
What I would like is I would like the list,
Mhm.
if it is in fact, if the list is public information, I would like a copy
If
of it.
the village
If
had a
it
list,
is-
it would be
if-
public
if
information. The
it
village
is
doesn't
not-
have a
if
list.
the-
I have a list.
If the emails that we provide to the village for communication are for the mayor's personal use, rather than for the village and for village business, as is stated on the form with which we provide our emails to the village, I would like this changed.
Okay, I can change it.
I would like this changed. I would like us to not be providing our emails to a private email list for the mayor,
You don't
but
have
to
to speak for
have,
everyone else. If you would
and-
like now your email provided, I can remove it from the list.
that is not what I said. What I said is I would like the intent of this
We got it,
form
we got what you want.
to be, no, you didn't.
Yes, you want the form changed so that it
No,
reflects
I
that
do
it's
not
my
want the
list.
form changed.
And I will do that.
I would like this form to actually be fulfilled as it's intended. That we have an email distribution list for the village that is used for village purposes, for emergency contacts and things like that. Because
That's my
that,
list. If I was given a list in 2014 when I got here, then that would be village list. I didn't get that. I had my high school kids
I
go
didn't-
around and get the
I
list.
did not
okay?
give any high school kids my email.
That's how that came about. That-
But
like-
so this form should be removed. This form should be
Okay.
removed from the village.
Well, no, I'm gonna change it.
Would you like your name removed?
What I would like, is I would like a way to be informed about emergencies and village meetings from the village. I would like a mechanism for that to happen. I would not like
It
to
is
give my email address to someone who may do with it as they wish. That is not why I give my email to a public body.
I think that could be done.
Go ahead, Mike.
Forget it.
Okay. Any other
I'll lose
comments?
my court.
John?
It seems to me that the report about the Treasury situation was cut short. Can you give me any more information about the status of the village's finances?
Was it cut short? You read what you gave you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Is there a
yes, but
question?
here are 4 and 5 pages of the balance sheet and the income statement. What's, is there
That
any
was handed
information?
out to you, don't you have to read? Sir?
Yes, I can read it, but
Thank you.
how about a treasurer's report?
I gave you the treasurer's report.
Yeah, we can leave.
Does the treasurer have a conflict all, every meeting?
No, she'll be here next month. She had a meeting for tonight.
Will you please tell me something about the origin of the treasurer? Why isn't the treasurer here?
She's at another village meeting.
Isn't this the most important meeting she should be at?
No.
What's more important than this one?
Well, she, obviously she had a conflict and she felt the other meeting that she had to be at was more important for her to be at tonight.
What
She-
happened
you
last
know,
month? Since you didn't
I don't know.
Don't you think different arrangements should be made with the treasurer one way or another so that the treasurer is here at your meeting?
Yes, we'll let her, I do agree, and we will let her know.
Okay, let me go on to another subject. Since you've resolved to have the village engineer prepare permits for the dock, I'd like to know more about the financing of the dock. For instance, what is the amount to be financed by a bond issue that you're proposing?
Currently, it would be $150,000
Just for the basic cost of the dock
and the permits.
and the permit?
We expect that to be less, but we're not at that point yet.
Okay, what is the interest rate to be on that?
It's 2.7% for the bond.
2.7% for both 5 years and 10 years?
10 years is less, I think it's 1.9.
Would you say those numbers again? 2.5?
2.7 was for
Seven.
5 years, and 1.9 was for 10 years.
That seems extremely low, but
Well, I met
that's
with
the
the
good
bond company
news.
yesterday, and that's what they gave me, that was the rate as
And
of
who is the
yesterday.
bond company?
We haven't picked a bond company yet, this is just a management company that's guiding us through the process if we get to that point. We're not at that point yet, because we don't even know if we'll have to borrow any money. I'm hoping we don't have to borrow any money. So we don't know where we're at yet.
If you don't borrow, where will the money come from?
Donations, fundraising,
And since the
dock might be cheaper to build, the permits may come in cheaper.
survey that you distributed seemed to be roughly split even between a yes and a no.
Yes.
So certainly there was not an overwhelming desire by residents to have a dock. Does that mean that it's definitely a good idea to go ahead with this?
Ultimately, it's the board's decision, and we're following the master plan, that the residents wanted a dock, and we're moving in that direction.
I see. Thank you.
Ron Cagle, 10 Maple Avenue. That was my question. I thought that the dock was being donated by the boat owners. All of a sudden I get this survey.
That's the worst case scenario,
That's a what?
the worst case scenario.
Okay, well, I'm hoping that some people who are not in favor of the dock will be able to review the ballot, because I'd like to make sure it's accurate. Now, a couple other things. I wasn't able to get here over the summer, but I feel like the watering done in these two parks was overwhelmingly too much. It was constantly wet. You couldn't even walk on the grass. As a born-again tennis player, it was all around the corners of the tennis court, ruining the tennis court. And I spoke to the guy who used to do it, Joe, and he said he agreed with me that every other day was fine, and they were doing it every day. I think you'd save some water, and you'd make the park a lot more nicer to walk. I couldn't even walk. You have to walk on the cement and not walk on the grass, okay?
Joe, do we have, is the sprinkles gonna be close soon?
Yeah, John just told me that.
It's done now, right? Hopefully.
I don't know.
If it hasn't been, it will be very.
No, I hope so.
So
I
he
mean,
was just on.
you don't need it now. All right, let's see. I would like to see some sand down by the beach there next year. I think that'd be a nice thing. And on that sign, I see people sitting in their cars and running their cars. I'd love to see an add at the bottom of the sign, no idling, but, you know, it's just the sign that you're going to put for the beach.
Sure, that might be a bad idea.
And lastly, I'm wondering why the community association is meeting here, but the civic association can't.
The association's not meeting here. They're just
I
using
know they're
the
not. The
virtual-
community association is, the civic
No, they're
association not
not.
allowed.
No, they're not. No, we're not.
Sure.
We were in the library Tuesday
I
night.
thought they just agreed to meet here.
They're using it
No.
to have Santa Claus.
Excuse
They're
me?
using it to have Santa Claus.
Oh. All right, that's it.
But all community organizations can use it.
Sure, they have to just.
Yeah, that was part of the, there was a resolution that was passed.
No.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
When?
I remember you asked me about,
It
no,
was
it
at
wasn't
the
you, it was
organizational
Barbara.
meeting.
Barbara asked me
No, I
about the
was there.
parking lot. And
It
I
was the
said,
organizational meeting that we.
it was an organizational meeting right in the beginning of the year.
Right
And
in
we passed
July.
it, and
I'll
was-
look it up, okay.
Yeah.
Because you know what we did. Go ahead.
Carol
Thank you
Bassett.
for the compliment.
I just want to know on the revenues and expenses year-to-date, there's a section called Legal A1420, and under A1420, there is A14214 Litigation. What did the village litigate?
Many things.
Could you give me an example?
No, they're in litigation. I can't. Those are, I can't give that to you.
Then I'll have to ask bluntly, is at a board meeting that I attended, it was requested that the village pay for the election when some of the candidates had to get legal fees, and there was litigation at that time. Is that included in that fee?
No, there's been there was a request put into the insurance company. You know how the insurance pays for your legal fees when you're in a legal suit? And it was put in for that, so we're waiting to hear.
So that litigation has nothing to do with that?
No,
It has to do with other litigation in the village?
no.
Is it foilable to know what the litigation
You
is?
can foil it, and I don't know if it's foilable or not, but you can try. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is because I don't know what it is. I don't know them off the top of my head. But I know I can't give them to you. I don't know what it is.
Okay, and my other question is just informational. You're looking at rental permits if people rent their houses out.
Mhm.
What is the purpose of that other than to raise money for the village? I don't.
Well, that's one reason. Second reason is to know who's in the house. There's to find out if there's we have many issues that are going on in the village with rental homes right now. Again, some of them we're in legal counsel with, we're in legal.
I know some of the things that are in legal counsel, but aren't those cases all closed?
I don't know. I can't speak to that.
They are.
All right, so making the permits means that if, I'm not renting my house out anyway, I'm just curious. It means that somebody has to come in and inspect the potential rental home?
Well, we're not up to that. We just have a draft copy right now.
I'm just asking you what exactly is the goal?
I don't know. We have a draft copy of what has been proposed. The board has to look at it in the next month, come back with their comments and hack it out and come up with some kind of policy.
So what spurred this on is the fact that you feel that some of the houses were not being rented properly?
No, what spurred it on is that we don't know how many individuals are in a home that are being rented out.
Yeah, but the rental permit's not gonna solve that because it's gonna be vacant when you inspect it.
Okay, thank you. Deidre?
Deirdre Cronin, 4 Silver Beach. I just want to say, I agree with the board sometimes and I disagree sometimes, but I really appreciate your service. And you're doing this as volunteers, and this is a good public forum, so thank you. I have to go put my kids to bed, but I appreciate what you're doing for us.
Any other comments before we move on to the resolutions?
Comment about, can I make a comment about one of the resolutions? Okay, Steve Weisenberg, but the resolution 5 or 4 through 13 is missing, is that on everybody's?
No, I don't. It's only yours. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No.
Okay, it's missing on mine, but one of them is about an easement on,
That was the plan that we talked about in the beginning of the working meeting for the drains.
but you weren't talking about an easement, you were talking about the fact that the drains had to be on private property,
We were
right?
talking about a car easement. We would give him 1 foot of property, he would be giving us 1 foot of property.
And that would be a deal that you would make?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a deal, I think, that you shouldn't make. And the reason I think that is because if there was ever an easement that should be voted on, that is voted on, that should not be approved, this is it. Now, I don't know the people willing to say they're very nice people, but they did a very not nice thing, okay? They put a basketball court with 0 setback in their front yard, guessing where the line was, turned out to be a foot over. So by granting this easement, I understand the village gets something for it, and I didn't know that. But I'm just talking to the easement itself. basketball court was put in without a permit. The permit said, I went and checked it out on the day that it went before the zoning board of appeals, and the permit said it was a patio, okay? So it's not a patio. And whatever it is, looks like a basketball court. It's right in the front yard, 1 foot over onto village property. So if you said, okay, listen, we have an alternate interest in granting this easement, it's sort of a Faustian bargain, because that would be granting an easement to a structure that is illegal and shouldn't be there in the first place.
And that's for the zoning board to deny that.
So what you're saying is that you're gonna grant the easement in order to throw it back to this?
We need his property to put those drains in. We needed it before he put the patio in.
Let's say that there was no basketball court.
Yes, we would still be doing it.
The engineer, because I know Mike was discussing that with the rest of you, the engineer said, well, we need a foot of his property.
Yep.
And then he said no.
Then he said no.
Then what would happen?
We wait for the road, I guess, to
Is
pull
it
across.
eminent
could say
domain?
no.
Would it be eminent domain?
We hopefully don't get to that. Yes,
But
that's
that's
probably what would happen.
what it might involve. So this is an opportunity to strike a deal where you can get that foot of property. But
It's beneficial to him so that he can get into the zoning board. Whether he gets approved or not, that's not the board's decision. The board's decision is to get him off village property and get him into the zone. And he has to go from there.
Don't you think, this is, I guess, rhetorical, but don't you think that that's saying, residents, you can build something without a permit illegally, and even put it on village property, and we'll approve it? Don't you think that's the message? And don't you think that the purpose of setbacks and zoning is to protect the rest of us, not the person who owns the property?
Oh, no, I agree with you. And yeah, he got fines and, we didn't know he was doing it. People build stuff all the time that we don't know about.
It was very hard to miss. I mean, honestly, it was very hard to miss. And
He put a permit in for a patio. He had a patio. We didn't, that's it. After he put the fence up, then he goes to zoning.
Okay, I've already made my main point, but I just want to add this since you just said that. He put in for a patio. He put in for a patio, according to what I saw, so correct me if I'm wrong, he put in for a patio, he or she or they put in for a patio without saying a word or showing in any diagram on the permit application where it was going to go.
Because a permit is not required for a patio.
But it wasn't a patio.
But he told us it was a patio, okay? He told us it was a patio.
Well, if a permit isn't required...
In the beginning, it was a patio, it was a concrete slab.
Okay, but now I sound argumentative, don't want to be right now at this moment, because but I'm thinking if a permit is not required for a patio, then why did he make a permit application for a patio?
Because he insisted that he wanted to have a permit.
He said he wanted to have a permit.
Right.
My mind is
You said something at the outset that I just want to amplify on. I'm sure they're very nice people and so on and so on.
I think that could be.
There was a mistake made and it gets back to the discussion we had very publicly about where our property ends and where individual property begins when it was about whose trees. If you recall those conversations when we were cutting back the trees. A mistake was made and somebody was a foot off.
What do you mean a mistake? You mean